Hello, everybody. Jim here, coming to you once again from my palatial apartment here in Tokyo, Japan. Sipping a little coffee today and having a chat with you all. Just me and a microphone. Doing another one of these conversational videos, which is, I believe, what we all settled on, conversational, because I didn't know what the hell to call these. I do them occasionally, whenever there's a topic to talk about, usually because somebody requests a topic, but this time around, it's something that I was chatting with a couple of other people about, and I thought, I had enough on my mind that I could maybe make a quick little video about it, and it's something that I'd like to get everybody's input on. But it's in regards to the quote-unquote YouTube gaming community. And I want to know how everyone in my audience feels about the greater YouTube gaming community. Because I feel like, obviously people have pointed this out before, YouTube isn't the same as it used to be. Back in my day, YouTube was blah blah, it was different. Obviously it was different. I think at that time, say, 10 years ago or so, and prior to that, you could say that there was a YouTube gaming community, like one singular thing. And it was a lot easier, I think, for people to stay in contact with each other and to correspond with each other, because there weren't so many channels, and the advent of the video response system back in the day was pretty cool, because you could directly respond to each other and have those videos. Wouldn't they appear like underneath the video itself, and you could see all the video responses and click on them and watch them? So there was a greater sense of community at the time. Now, though, YouTube gaming community is like this umbrella term. And underneath that, there are like little pocket communities, like dedicated to different things. And I find this sometimes because sometimes I'll go look at recent subscribers, and I'll just go looking at channels. And I'll go look at some channels, and then I'll see in their recommended channels all these other channels I've never heard of, and I'll go and watch some of those, and they'll reference each other, and they'll make video responses to each other, and so it's like they have their own, like, smaller pocket community there. And I thought that was really interesting that since YouTube has become so massive, people have kind of like divvied themselves up. And one of the things that really made me think about, well, what even is like the YouTube gaming community? Is there anything really all that communal about it? Because I have, I think for a long time considered myself something of an outsider in the greater gaming community, kind of someone who, stays on the outskirts there. Partially because, I'm like geographically separated from most people, so it's not like, a lot of other YouTubers, if some convention comes up, mostly in, North America, if there's a convention that comes up, they can all kind of convene there and meet people and stuff and become friendly, and then friendships build like working relationships, I think. There are a lot of YouTubers who collaborate with each other on a regular basis and reference each other. And I think part of that is because they do know each other personally. And YouTube is, for all intents and purposes, still a social media website. So obviously, you're going to be inclined to work with people you know personally, people that you are social with, people that you are friends with. So I really don't have that opportunity very much, just because there are not a whole lot of there are Japanese gaming YouTube channels, but like English speaking gaming YouTube channels coming out of Japan, there aren't that many. But I have met, some other YouTubers here in Japan. For example, Jimmy Hoppa. Got to hang out with Jimmy on a couple of different occasions, and Jimmy's a great guy. But outside of that, unless a YouTuber comes to Japan for a visit, I don't get to actually pal around with anybody. Saramaru has come out here and hung out with me a couple of times. Destiny was here in December, and we got to meet up and hang out and do some game hunting, and I think a couple of other instances. But generally speaking, I don't get to like go to conventions and sort of like pal around and hobnob with like the other YouTubers and stuff. So I mean, outside of the odd collaboration or shout out, I really feel like I'm kind of like distant from other YouTube gaming content creators. I associate with some people, but I'm not, in there. Like, for example, Spawn Wave, right? There's the Spawn cast, and there's kind of like a regular bunch of faces that you see on there all the time. These are people that are, friendly. I'm assuming maybe they know each other on some kind of personal level. And that's pretty cool that they can all do that they can all work together and do something that has kind of like that kind of community feel to it. But I think the issue that some people take with that is that it's kind of I've heard people complain that that's very exclusionary, that either the Spawn Wave, Spawn Cast kind of thing, or what is it? The MCNs is what they're called, like Screenwave and things like that. Like or like Metal Jesus and the Metal Jesus crew. Like they essentially work almost exclusively together, like within this group of like half a dozen to a dozen people, and kind of to the exclusion of other people who would like to work with them, who would like to have the exposure that comes with appearing on Metal Jesus or a Spawn cast or something like that. But the issue is they don't, you're pretty much, we're all like strangers here, right? I mean, we watch each other's videos and we comment and things like that, but we don't, know each other. So what's the inclination to work with someone that you don't know? I don't understand. Again, like, it's social media. So it's kind of like, I would say maybe like Facebook, for example. Facebook is a social media platform. Would you be upset if a total stranger wouldn't chat with you the same way that he chats with people that he actually knows and is actually familiar with? I don't think so. But speaking of like pocket communities and this sort of like this lessening of the feeling of one community that functions, as like this single entity, I've seen so many. Well, I'm not gonna say so many, but I have seen, I would say like a handful of instances of YouTubers that I either follow now or followed at one point, really not liking each other, like just out and out, just like fighting on like Twitter and on YouTube, making videos about each other, and just sort of this like, I don't know, it's hard to tell if there's like genuine animosity between people, or is it just something that's like a one-way street where one person is really angry over something and the other person doesn't really give a shit. Some people, I've heard the term clout chasing thrown around a lot, because I've discovered that, and I've discovered this just via my friendship with people like Destiny, my association with 8-Bit Eric. I've known and followed Eric on YouTube for like the better part of a decade, and other various people too. And like, one of those pocket communities is like a community of people that just really, I guess, just really doesn't care for like most people or most things on YouTube. And so I've seen Destiny being trashed. Like, actually, that was kind of how I first became aware that there was kind of like a little sub-community of I wouldn't even know what to call it. Just this cluster of channels that just really don't like bigger YouTubers, I guess. But I first became aware of Destiny because she did a shout-out video and said that I was one of her favorite YouTubers and gave me a shout-out, and I thought that was like nice. I was like, oh, cool. So I watched the video and said thank you and everything, and then I noticed in the sidebar, in the recommended videos, some of her videos were there, but a lot of them were just videos that had her name in the title, or maybe her picture in the thumbnail, but it wasn't one of her videos. It was like some, like, I think I watched like 3 of them, and without fail, all of them were like some 30-something-year-old dudes, just like railing against her because she's growing quickly on YouTube, I guess, and they don't really care for that because, you know, she's a good-looking girl with big tits, and so they're like, oh, god damn you, that's manipulative. How dare you exist in that state and appear on a camera, and then get attention for that. So that was how I first became aware that there are like channels like this out there that exist basically exclusively to, for lack of a better term, just like talk shit about like other YouTubers. And so that's like one of the little pocket communities, and almost all of them have like being a gaming channel, right? Like it's a gaming channel. Almost all of them say like something gaming or something gamer or game this, game that. But not, I don't know. I didn't like watch a lot of these videos. I didn't spend a lot of time with it, but it seemed like for a gaming channel, you really do spend an awful lot of time bitching about total strangers on the internet. For whatever reason, but I don't know. Again, some people say that that's like an attention-seeking ploy. Other people argue that maybe some people, it's either like just pure spite and envy, or maybe there's some kind of like mental problems going on. Maybe there's just like incels that hate people, but then that's not a great explanation, because it's not just Destiny that gets it. It's, you know, I mean, I've become aware that there are channels that exclusively hate like beat 'em ups, and they'll just say horrible things about beat 'em ups, like every day a new video that beat 'em up sucks, or Metal Jesus sucks, or Eric sucks, or some. It's just, that's the common thread. So, you know, there's like, so I've been finding these like little clusters. There's clusters of like retro game channels. There's still like, when I first started, a lot of the channels I followed, and my channel too, were just like pickups channels, collector channels, where you just showed your pickups and you talked about collecting games and things like that. And there's still like those clusters of channels as well, where they don't like really do like reviews and things like that, nothing too terribly in depth. It's more about the joy of collecting. So there's kind of like that sub genre of like YouTube collectors, you know, so there's like a community for that. There's a budding community of like import game channels. Like there weren't really very many, or I don't know how, like when I first started on YouTube, the only one I could think of really was like Luke Morse 1. You know, he was the only channel that I was aware of where he was doing like hard off videos and Japanese game collecting and stuff like that. But now, you know, Saramaru's jumped into the mix. Jimmy Hoppa's there, and he's great. I've seen I think Retro Drew is this great little channel that I came upon recently, and he's been doing a lot of import stuff. SNES Drunk features a lot of import games, and that's great. I love SNES Drunk. And Sega Lord X, he has import stuff on his channel quite a bit too. So I like those. So there's these pockets of like collectors, and there's the import game channels, and they're like the Sega dedicated channels, and there's Nintendo stuff, and there are channels dedicated to Switch, and this, that, and the other thing. So instead of just like a single gaming community, it's like there's all these like smaller communities under that umbrella term, again, of YouTube gaming. Some bigger channels, some smaller channels. But it definitely feels fractured. And I don't know. I mean, I guess that's like just a consequence of YouTube becoming such, you know, a popular platform for talking about video games. And I think that's fine. Again, it's a social media network, and you have your YouTube account. You can do whatever the hell you want with it. If you want to make videos, you can make them. You can make 20 videos a day, and can't nobody do nothing about it, unless you're making videos about like shitting in the middle of your floor, or like doing some crazy shit. But if you work within those parameters of the YouTube guidelines, I mean, there's nothing to stop. There could be a million more gaming channels tomorrow, and that wouldn't it wouldn't be I wouldn't say it wouldn't be like good or bad, but it wouldn't be right or wrong, because again, everybody that has a YouTube account and is working within the I guess the community guidelines and all that kind of shit, you can make as many videos as you want, and nobody can tell you any different. Unless, of course, YouTube goes full-on authoritarian, and then they just start shutting shit down, which is not outside the realm of possibilities. Anyway, that's just kind of like some rambling nonsense. Again, I don't really script any of this out. I just kind of sit here, sip my coffee or beer, depending on the time of day, and just ramble off some random thoughts I'm having. That's what the comments section is for, because if I get derailed, you guys can put me back on track, or at least give me your input. And I'd love to know what everybody thinks about this in my my viewership amongst my subscribers, because each channel is kind of like its own little community as well, in a way. And I see a lot of the same people in my comments all the time, and I'm always happy to see you. And hope you enjoy watching and listening as much as I enjoy making them. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, what do you feel like, especially any of you have been on YouTube for a long time, been a part of the YouTube gaming community for a long time. How do you feel then and now? Like, what do you see the gaming community as these days? And if how do you feel about some of the sort of like little pocket communities that have sprung up and things like that? Some people say it's like cliques, like it's high school or something. Everybody's sitting at different tables or something, which I think is like, maybe it's an apt analogy, but I hate it. I hate it so much because we're all grown. Well, I think most of us are grown, probably. If I look at my analytics, almost all of you is grown-ass men and women, not high school kids. We can all pal around and stuff. But yeah, let me know down in the comments. What do you think about all this? What do you think about the YouTube gaming community? What do you think about the rifts that there is? What do you think of the divide between big channels and smaller channels? Do bigger channels have a responsibility to smaller ones? And if so, like, what is that responsibility? Because I don't know. A lot of stuff gets thrown around out there. Again, like I said, I follow a number of people on Twitter, and I see all these random, these tweets going back and forth, people arguing and ready to tear each other's throats out. And everybody has a different opinion. Some people feel very strongly about those opinions. So those of you in my audience, I'd love to hear what your opinions are on the state of the gaming community as it is today. And I think that's about all I wanted to say today. I kind of want to finish sipping my coffee and maybe play some Mario Kart or something. So I've kept you guys long enough. Again, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed it as much as I did listening to myself talk. And until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye.